Hello guys, how are you? I hope you're fine. Today my classmate and I have a new lesson, Process Essay. For the development of the topic, we will follow this agenda. The first one, basic aspect and characteristics. The second one, the process to developing process essays and suggestion tips on how to write this type of essay. And finally, original essay from this type. In this kind of essay, the objective is to describe how something is done a sequence of steps or how something operates. Process essays are generally organized according to time. That is, they begin with the first step in the process and proceed in time until the last step in the process. Writing process essays can be classified into types according to a purpose. The first one type explains how to do something. In this type, we give a set of instructions in detail so that the readers can perform the same action and do the process themselves. We introduce the process and the materials or tools required for the process. Then, we list the steps that must follow. The most important thing to bear in mind is to tell the readers everything that needs to be known. The second type explains how to do something works. In this type, we focus on the standard of how something happens rather than step explaining in detail. The aim of the writing is not to enable the reader to perform some action, but to explain the overall process. It's important to mention that after writing this essay, we can check to see whether the steps are clearly explained and are in chronological order and proper transitions are used. In the first type, there should not be a large gap between the steps, and in the second one, there should not be any question marks in the reader's minds about the overall process. For this, we can establish that all essays follow a common structure which allows to develop in satisfactory way all their content.
Hello, I'm going to explain you the process to developing your essay, in this case a process essay. So first of all, I'm going to give you the basic structure that you have to follow for write your process essay. First of all, you have to write the introduction, then the body, and for the last part is the conclusion. I'm going to explain each one. First of all, the introduction. The introduction to a process essay may tell the reader about a problem. The thesis statement, which is usually the last sentences of the introduction, tells the reader how to solve the problem. One way to start your process essay is to present a problem in the introductory paragraph. Then present your thesis statement, the solution to the problem you present. Then you have to write the body. When describes a process, it is important to make a plan so you don't skip any important step. It is also important to list all the material that the readers need to have in order to follow the steps. It is important to be very familiar with the process you are writing about. The body paragraph of a process essay are the steps. Each step is presented in the topic sentences of each paragraph. Then we have the conclusion. The conclusion is the last part of your process essay. The conclusion may be similar to the introduction. It will remind the reader of both the problem and the solution. The conclusion sometimes warns the reader about the danger involved in following steps incorrectly or offers suggestions about overcoming certain difficulties. The concluding paragraph will remind the readers of what they can do next time they have a problem you mentioned in the introduction. The conclusion may also offer some advices or warnings about the process. So that is the basic structure that you have to follow. Right now I'm gonna give you some tips or suggestions that you can follow to write a process essay. We have transitions. Some process essay follow time order. They use time order transitions. So you have to use these transitions to help mark the steps in your process essay, though, so they are easy to follow. For example, you can use the first step is, second step is, after that, before doing the next step, and etc. So we also have some questions that we can ask you to write a process essay. For example, these are some questions that we have to consider when I'm writing, right? For example, what process are you trying to explain and what is important? Who or what does the process affect? Are there different ways of doing the process? If so, what are they? What skills and commitment are needed for this? How long does the process take? Is the outcome always the same? How many steps are there in the process? Why is each step important? What difficulties are involved in each step? And how can they overcome? Do any caution needs to be given? So that are some questions that you can ask you to consider when you are writing a process essay. Also, we can use linking words because process essays are generally organized according to time. So we can use some linking words, and we have many kinds of linking words. For example, additions. Some examples are also, to, as well as that, along with, besides, or you can use other linking words. For example, first, second, third, finally, at this time, following, or you can use also emphasis linking word, like obviously, especially, clearly, importantly, absolutely, definitely. So there are some examples you can use for make sense your process essay. And if you follow this basic structure and you follow these tips and suggestions, certainly you're gonna write a good process essay. That's it.
And now we are going to develop a process essay example. In the following essay, all parts of the process are developed in the introduction, the body, and the conclusion, as well as the use of transition words and keywords. The essay is titled Changing the oil inside the motor of your car. In the introduction, we have a small outline of what the body of the essay will entail. In this case, we have there are few things so essential for the maintenance of a car, such as changing the oil inside its motor. And, to the surprise of many, this is an activity easier to imagine that will make your money last longer, by not going to the mechanic every time this change is required. Here's a quick guide for you. That was the introduction. Within the essay, we find the body of this, in which the development of the process begins step by step. First off, the things you should buy beforehand are a couple of quarts of oil, which shouldn't go above the $15 mark. Also, you will need to buy a new air filter, which will probably cost you around $5 to $15, depending on the model of your car. Finally, some other tools you can't miss are 2 jacks to lift up the car, an oil filter wrench, an oil drain container, a funnel, some latex glove, a wrench to remove the draining plug, and a kit of keys to remove any screw for the air filter. And now, also in the body, we have the very first step to follow is placing the jacks below the car. to get it above the ground. Then you should locate the oil flow so you can drain the liquid. Most cars will have it right beneath the motor, and some of them will also include protection for the plug that need to be removed with the kit mentioned before. It is very important to place the oil bucket on also a piece of plastic or cardboard before draining the oil, so you don't spill any of it on the floor. Thank you.
To continue with the structure of your process essay, there's one thing you should remember. There are no limits for how long is your essay going to be. It all depends on two key factors. The first of them will be if you have a pre-established limit of words or paragraphs, let's say, for example, for a homework. And then the other factor will be that how much time does this process take to be completed. For longer processes, you will have longer essays. Now, also, highlighted right here in the next two paragraphs, we will find some key words and key expressions that indicate when an action is starting, and also to transition from one idea or from one step to another. For example, we have now it's time to, remember that, immediately after, don't forget to, or next in this first paragraph. So let's read. Now it's time to get that plug out. Just remember that the oil might still be hot, so be very careful on this part. Remove your hand immediately after removing the plug so you don't get burned. Let all of the oil fall on the container until the last drop is out. You can now move to the filter. It should look like a metal cylinder piece that is screwed into the motor. Unscrew the filter with a special wrench for it, and finish removing it with your hands. Don't forget to lubricate with some oil the tip of the new filter, so it can fit smoothly into the motor. Next, with your hands, put it in its place and screw it in so you don't put too much pressure by using the wrench, which can cause the filter to get stuck. To conclude this essay, here we have the last paragraph, which will include the conclusion. This conclusion will also be linked to that main idea and to the thesis statement that you had on your first paragraph, introductory paragraph. We also find the other keywords that we were talking about. For example, once you're done, what follows, subsequently, or for example, this one, which is very important, the last step, which indicates that we are coming to the end of this essay and the process. So let's read it. Once you're done with the filter, go back to the oil plug. If all the oil has been drained from the motor, what follows is to reinstall the plug, which should be done with the proper key or wrench depending on the model of your car, so you can apply proper pressure to it and it doesn't fall. Subsequently, lower the jacks and open the hood so you can remove the oil cap right by the motor. The last step should be adding the needed amount of oil to your car. To make sure that you've added enough, remove the oil dipstick and make sure to achieve an oil level between the markers on it. Now just turn on your car for about a minute so the oil can settle. Once the engine is off, you can make sure there are no oil leaks. If not, you're done. And it was that easy. Enjoy the money you just saved. See? Those two phrases. It was that easy and enjoy the money you just saved go back to those same main ideas you stated on your introduction.